The Queen's speech was short, and no surprise there when the coalition says the economy is the priority. But as MPs listened to the list of bills and draft bills, there were delays and U-turns won by the Lib Dems and Tory backbenches. Reform of the House of Lords was in there, but plenty of hints it's heading for the long grass. Others included an enterprise bill aimed at cutting red tape on business, a pensions bill simplifying state pensions and raising the retirement age, a children and families bill to introduce flexible parental leave, speed up adoption and improve services for children with special needs. But critics have focused on what's missing from the programme, including a bill to regulate lobbyists who use their influence with ministers, plans to improve the funding of social care for the elderly, and a requirement to peg overseas aid spending to at least 0.7% of national income. Here's our political editor, Gary Gibbon.
A trawl for gunpowder before the Queen arrives. The images don't scream austerity. The list of bills doesn't look like a government utterly focused on turning round the economy. But that is what the government wanted the message to be.
My minister's first priority will be to reduce the deficit and restore economic stability.
David Cameron let slip his inner thoughts in a newspaper interview this morning. There is a growing list of things that I want to do but can't, he said, complaining how Nick Clegg holds him back. But MPs in the overspill outside the Lords know that David Cameron's also having to live with some extra bills he doesn't want, thanks to Nick Clegg, not least Lords reform. David Cameron's downplaying House of Lords reform and emphasising the attack on business red tape, the reform of the state pension, public sector pensions. But he knows that House of Lords reform has the power to overwhelm everything in this session because of the strength and determination of the opposition to the measure, not just in the Tory party, but beyond. So in private, he and Nick Clegg are exploring how they could come to some agreement to walk away from the reform. Whilst in public, they're staying committed to the bill only just announced, but insisting they're not obsessed.
Reforming the House of Lords is not the most important priority for the government. That is dealing with the deficit, that is getting our economy moving, that is increasing the level of responsibility in our society, getting on the side of hard-working people. Those are the things that matter the most, but I think it is perfectly possible for Parliament to do more than two things at the same time.
It strikes me, talking to Lib Dem MPs, that they're maybe not quite as dewy-eyed evangelical about fully elected House of Lords in the middle of a double-dip recession, as some people might think they are. Do you think they're a different lot from the ones you've known before?
Yes, I think there is a lot of serious thought going on in the wake of the disastrous local election results. You know, people are concerned about the economy. That's what the coalition came together for. Everything else seems to be relatively irrelevant, and that includes, I'm afraid, reform in the House of Lords.
With the Queen gone, the party leaders got back to the economy. David Cameron worries that a European debate is getting under steam, suggesting it's growth or austerity. He wants to win back public support for his belief that growth will only come through cutting spending.
It is a Queen's speech for the doers, the strivers, those who work hard and play by the rules.
For a young person looking for work, the speech offers nothing. For a family whose living standards are being squeezed, this speech offers nothing. For the millions of people who think the government isn't on their side, this speech offers nothing. No change, no hope. That is the real message of this Queen's speech.
Peers emerged from the Lords' chamber having just heard a death sentence they seem convinced will not be carried out. Number 10 always knew some of today's measures weren't exactly in harmony with its harsh economic message. Some of the images don't help much either.
Well, with me now is the International Development Secretary, Andrew Mitchell. What's on this growing list of things that you'd like to do but you can't do? Because the Lib Dems were always against married tax breaks and scrapping the Human Rights Act. What's growing about this list?
Well, I think if you look at the list of measures which the Queen has announced today, you can see that it's a series of important measures for a full Parliament. And it takes forward the coalition's agenda, the agenda of both the political parties. But what do you want to do that you're not able to do? That's what David Cameron's saying today. There are loads of things he'd like to do that you can't do. Well, I think it's no secret that as a result of being in a coalition, both parties have had to trade in some of the things that they would do if they were in government on their own. And that's part of what a coalition is about.
But what are they? What are all these things you would like to do that you're not suddenly able to do?
Well, I think it's no great secret that we probably wouldn't be including in the legislation reform of the House of Lords unless we were in coalition. But that's part of the coalition agreement, and it's not an unreasonable proposition that in the 21st century those who legislate should actually be largely elected.
And do you think that's going to happen before 2015? We can expect that because it's in the Queen's speech.
I think that we've got to work now towards a sensible programme for House of Lords reform. I think we want to get as much agreement as possible in how we do that, and that's what the coalition government is going to do.
So you don't expect it to be done by 2015, do you?
I think it could well be done by 2015, but I think the sensible thing is not to set an immediate timetable. It is to tackle this in the right way and to get it right. After all, we've waited for more than 100 years to reform the Lords.
You still haven't given me an example of something you would like to do, that is a new thing that you would like to do, that the Lib Dems are stopping you from doing.
Well,
that's what David Cameron said today.
I've given you a very...
You've given me an example from the House of Lords, which is something you say you're being forced to do that you don't want to do.
I've given you an example of... You asked for something which the Conservatives probably wouldn't do if they weren't in coalition, and I don't think we would tackle reform of the House of Lords in quite this way.
No, I'm asking you for something you would like to do, that you're being stopped from doing.
Well, I think there are other things
There's a growing list, apparently.
To do with the reform. Well, I haven't seen a growing list, but I think if you look at the important measures that we are taking, you can see the agreement that exists between the two coalition parties to sort out the dreadful economic mess which we inherited when we came into government 2 years ago.
On your own department, you wanted, enshrined in law, in this Queen's speech, the commitment to spend 0.7% of gross national income on overseas aid. Why did you lose that argument?
Well, what I want to do is make sure that we stand by our commitments to the poorest people in the world at a time of great difficulty in Britain, that we don't balance the books on the backs of the poorest people in the world, and that we stand by the commitment to the 0.7. And as Her Majesty confirmed today, that is exactly what we are doing. Now, you come on to the bill. The bill is ready. It's with the business managers. But I think with the best will in the world, it should not take precedence over the important economy-saving, prosperity-building measures which the coalition government want to introduce now. So the bill is ready.
Are you saying you didn't want it in the speech?
No, what I'm saying is...
I thought you'd argued for it.
What I'm saying is very clear. I have argued consistently, as the coalition government has done, in favour of the 0.7, in favour of this budget at a very difficult time for our country, because it is the right thing to do. It helps build our future prosperity and our future security, as well as for those in the poorest parts of the world. The law will come. We've made that clear. The Prime Minister's made it clear that it's ready to go, but it must take its place in the queue. The important thing is that we are allocating the budget, that we are taking these steps in accordance with our commitments that we have made.
It was a very short speech, this. I mean, is this a government that doesn't want to pass lots of laws now?
This is a government that is absolutely hell-bent on our central preoccupation, which is restoring the economy, building future prosperity, tackling unemployment, making sure that we get people, particularly young people, into work, sorting out, as I say, the dreadful economic inheritance which we had from the last Labour government. The Queen's speech plays an important part in many aspects of that through some of the bills which you've already mentioned. But our central preoccupation is building growth, restoring the economy, building for future prosperity.
Andrew Mitchell, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.